Hey, Vlad here from DependencyGraph.com. Welcome to the hopefully last video in the Zio series. In this one, we're going to rewrite our persistence layer that uses skunk and our delivery layer that uses http4s. Let's get right to it. All right, so this is exactly where we left off, and let me actually switch back to the root and let's start writing all the tests again. Today we're actually going to start with the build file because both http4s and skunk, they come from the type level ecosystem, and we need instances for the type classes defined in there. Luckily, there is already a library that we already actually have on the class path. We just need to move it up. It's the zio-interop-cats library. So we have been only using it in the main where we're choosing zio as a effect type or other effect types, and now we actually need to move it up. We need to put it above http4s and skunk. In fact, right before the Zio video started, I created a video about the top level definitions, specifically about the top level exports. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create a sub project. We're going to call it custom zio-interop-cats. We're going to put it like right above. In fact, let me actually open the dependency graph over here, right? Not like this. Let's actually open it preview. Okay, so we're going to have like this and click over here. That's actually too dark. Let's click over here. Okay, so we're going to have like a project on the side over here, right? So it's not going to depend on core, but it's going to live on the side over here. And the delivery and persistence are not going to have a dependency on it, but these two guys will. And pretty much the only two things that it's going to have like this one export to like, that will bring all of these instances, and therefore we're never going to have to touch it ever again. And we're also going to have a type alias, which is going to basically hard code the effect type that we're going to choose, which is going to be Zio, that is going to require the Zio environment in its reader slot, and it's going to fail with a throwable because this is how the whole type level ecosystem works. And then it obviously succeeds with some parametric A. All right, so let's go to the build file. Let's go to the aggregate portion over here. So somewhere like right underneath the core, we're going to introduce this guy, which is going to be custom zio-interop-cats. Right, so we're gonna go down over here. So we're gonna grab delivery, for example. Right, I'm just gonna do this like this. Right, so I'm just gonna paste it over here. Okay, so I'm gonna find the D and I'm going to replace it with how did I call it? Custom zio-interop cats like this. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select like this and paste it like this, and it's not going to be 2, it's going to be 1, and it's not going to depend on core, and it's not going to have, well, it's not going to have this dependency, but it's going to have def zio and, well, this thing over here. So like this. Okay, and now we're going to go down and we're going to find the delivery http4s over here, and we're going to say that it will not only depend on core, but it will also depend on, let me actually go and copy it. Copy, yank around this thing, and go over here, find the C, mark it like this. Okay, so now I can copy this line and I'm going to find the skunk Postgres version over here. I'm just going to paste it like this. This is already everything that we need, right? If I save this, let me wait for SBT real quick. Okay, there's a mistake somewhere. Oh yeah, of course, at the top over there. So this one, right? So our custom zio-interop-cats is going to depend on the real, zio-interop-cats, right? On this one. Okay, so we need to do R over here. Okay, let's also import the build. Actually, let me also go over here, and I did DG something. DG. This is the one that I want, right? It doesn't have tests and doesn't have So this one will regenerate the dependency graph over here. So if you open it now, as you can see, it now has like this thing on the side, custom zio-interop-cats. It doesn't have a dependency on core, but like these two guys, they have a dependency on it. Okay, so let me actually close all of them. Okay, let's also ask Metals to recompile the whole thing. All right, let me collapse everything. So now we can go over here and I'm going to create a file inside. I'm going to do source main scala dev inside you, because I bought the inside you.dev domain, custom zio-interop-cats exports.scala. Okay, and the only thing that we're going to have over here is going to be export zio.interop-cats with a Z star like this. All right. Well, actually, this is not the only thing. As already mentioned, we're also going to have an alias, right? And we can have a top-level alias. We're going to call it Z. It would have been better to call it F, but because then we would have less to rewrite. But I think Z is going to be more obvious. Okay. So this is simply going to be a type Z for some A, and it's going to be a real, which means it can fail with a throwable. It needs the zio environment and the A, right? And we need this because like all of the instances in this zio-interop-cats, they have been written for the zio environment. All right, so let me save this, and we also need import zio star like this. All right, let's actually go and commit this guy, right? So this is all we did, right? This is all the changes, right? We just changed the build, and okay, we don't see the new files. Okay, so we're just gonna do custom zio-interop-cats like this. Cool. So this is all that we needed. Let's go and start by rewriting the persistence layer. So let me close all of these. Close this guy, close all of these. All right, so we have the persistence-postgres-skunk. Let's go over there. Right, so as a reminder, Zio has a random thing, and this random thing can generate many things. Among them is the UUID, but we're simply going to go and do our good old trick. This one, save all, copy paste, and like this one. And over here, close the others, find the O like this and like this. There we go, and now it should compile. All right, similar to random over here, we're gonna change everything over here to -r, -r plus r, sorry, -r plus e. Okay, mark this guy. This is going to be zio of re like this. Whoops, 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 comma UUID like this. Right, let's go over here. Let's do lazy val make. Simply gonna produce a UIO of UUIDGenerator of any and nothing like this. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this guy, mark and these guys, Alt F3, change to zio.succeed like this, and this F over here is going to be a UIO, and I believe this is actually it. We forgot the import. It's going to be zio, not IO, zio like this. There we go. All right, so somewhere in the core we have the entity gateway, which looks like this, and now we need to change the implementation. All right, so let's close the others and go over here to, why did we end up at core? Here, no, not Docker, here to do and CRUD PostgresEntityGateway, this one. Let's change it to old like this. And there we go, save all like this, and copy paste like this, and close all the others, and go here, find the O, delete the column like this. There we go. All right, so first let's do zio over here. We don't need this f parameter. All right, now this is the interesting part. We have this zio interrupt, right? And it's always imported, right? So we have this zio cats interrupt thing, right? And so we have this resource, and we could actually leave this resource, but I kind of don't want to. I want to actually change this to the zio resource, because the idea is sort of like to get rid of cats. Okay, so we're gonna go and change it. Okay, so we're gonna change this to our managed. Okay, this is how it's called in Zio. Okay, and because it's in, there's managed, there's like aliases for this, right? So there's R managed, there's UR managed, and stuff like this. The same way as in Zio. So because there's an R, we need to specify the R over here, and our R is going to be Zio environment. Right? Okay, so this is still going to be the skunk session. We need to go over here and change it to Z. Remember, this is our type alias that we just introduced. Okay, so we don't need this whole parameter over here. So this is going to be a UIO. Okay, so we're going to find the old over here, just remove it. We're going to find the F over here. We're just going to remove it until the U. We're going to find this thing. Okay, so this is going to be an entity gateway. This is exactly the reason why we have this R parameter laying around in there. Remember, like the controller didn't care about it, the boundary didn't care about it, even like the entity gateway didn't really care about it. They just all needed to be passed through so that I can inject the Zio environment in there, right? This is why we have it over here. Zio environment was still going to fail with a throwable. All right, so over here we actually don't need to do any of this. We just need to do zio.succeed. Okay, now everything over here where we're using the F, we're simply going to replace with Z. right? This is like this, our type alias, this very mighty type alias, right? So we haven't changed anything in this entire file. We didn't even need to change the statement, that uses it's just a bucket of a bunch of, skunk queries. Cool. So let's have a look at the session pool, which is over here. That's probably going to be the most complicated part of the entire rewrite. Okay, so let's call it old like this. And by the way, if you have seen the Tagless Final series, I actually renamed the database, right? It used to be called Tagless Final to do or something like this. So I just renamed it to this. Okay, so save all, copy paste, and we're gonna have just the session pool, close the others like this, find the O, delete the column like this. All right, there we go. Everything is green. All right, so we're going to do this one step by step because first of all, it uses the context bounds for the app that is going to come in, right? And we don't have the app that is coming in. We're hard coding everything to the Z. Okay, so this one needs to be a regular paren, and this one as well. Okay, so this entire thing is going to be a using block, right? Using. Okay, so we're going to use the concurrent of Z, right? So like this, okay, and this one is going to be a comma. For the using blocks, we actually don't need the names, right? If we if we don't need them, right? If we don't use them, okay. So I can just leave it like this, okay, and then this is going to be a session pool of Z like this. Now, because we're hard coding this to Z, we actually can remove the network and concurrent, right? Because we don't need to specify that we need them because the integration already knows that we need them because it's hard coded. Okay, so this thing is going to compile. Okay, so I can remove this, I can remove that, and now it's actually going to fit back into one line like this. Now, this session pool over here, it is actually a resource of a resource. So if we jump in there, and thank you for helping me to jump in there. Okay, whatever. I actually wanted to jump in there, and I wanted to show you that this thing over here is actually a resource with some Z of a resource with the Z and the session of the Z, right? So this is the type alias. So what I've just written is exactly the same code. I wanted to jump in there and to show this to you, but Metals wasn't on my side today. All right, now when I designed the Tagless Final to do serious, like all of these things that are required, for example, the trace, we're using the no-op trace like somewhere in the main, right? So at the very, very lower layer, I decided to actually move it here so that I can get rid of these implicits. Like Zio kind of often brags, Zio is proud of the fact that it doesn't use like that many implicits or high kinds and stuff like this. So I kind of wanted to like follow the same kind of guideline. Okay, so if I were to go to main, this one for example, we're going to just grab this line over here. So I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to go back, and I'm going to start using it over here. And by the way, we don't need network. And at this point, since we're not using session pool, we can actually go and just use session over here. Okay, and now we can actually remove this parameter. Okay, because we have the instance, we're bringing it over here, right? So this should be fine. So now the only thing that we use is the console, and I want to get rid of this as well. Now, unfortunately, this interrupt library does not bring it, so we kind of have to define it. Super simple. So we're just going to go over here. We're going to say given std console. Std is the catseffect.std. Okay, so it's just going to be std.console.make like this. Okay, and now that we have this, we don't need this. Okay, and now this thing can just be a lazy val. And as a reminder, we're in Scala 3, so we don't need any curlies. Like this whole thing is in, it's in one. All right, so same as in the PostgresEntityGateway at the top, where I said, we could have kept the resource, but I wanted to use the rmanage. We're going to use it over here as well. Okay, so let me actually do this. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, and well, actually, I'm going to go over here, right? So it's called rmanaged. Right, and it needs the R, so it's going to be the Zio environment. Okay, and inside it's going to have an R managed, and again it needs the R, so it's going to be the Zio environment, right? And the session is going to stay like this. Okay, so this is like the Zio version of this. Now, unfortunately, there is no magic that is going to convert like all of this for you. The old resource into R managed. So we actually need to go over here and do this explicitly by saying to managed Zio, right? And then inside of it, we're also going to need to go map and do the same thing inside of it, right? Again, this part is not necessary, but I just wanted to like stay like as close to Zio as possible. Okay, so we're going to remove this, and it's going to be just fine if we actually import Zio. zio star like this. Okay, it's all good. Actually, I believe the only thing that we use from cats effect is actually std, right? All right, so this is already everything that we need for this persistence layer. So let's go and commit it. It's going to be persistence-postgres-skunk like this. All right, so let's continue with the main layer that uses this one like this. Okay, so this way we're going to be able to run it, right? So we're going to be able to run the console version that uses the database. All right, source CRUD dependency graph, same trick as always, dependency graph, Alt, Shift Enter. Let's see. All right, HTTP no. HTTP no. Yes and yes and yes. All right, there we go, and save all of them like this, and go over here, copy paste, and dependency graph like this, and close the others, and delete the column like this. And it looks like I made a mistake with one of the rewrites because something over there is red. Program over here, so it uses the old. It probably should do this, right? Okay, so I made a mistake during the rewrite. Have to be very, very careful. All right, so over here, all we need to do. This is the wrong file. Close it, close it. Okay, so we're over there, over there, over there. Dependency graph. Like this. So over here, find the C. This is going to be zio. Find this guy, delete this whole thing, find the O, mark it, remove all of the old stuff. Okay, so now over here, well, actually, let's just do this, and we're going to do nothing, and then do the same thing over here, and we're going to do the resource for the R managed. Therefore, over here, we're going to have the zio environment skunk session for Z. We're going to have the controller for zio environment and nothing, and this app is going to be UIO, and maybe the rest is actually going to stay the same. Yeah. As a reminder, remember, like the controller, it actually said that, you know, it wanted the boundary that uses the R, but for the console and random, it actually uses the one that have any, which is why we specified any over here. All right, let's go and do the program over here. Program, Alt, Shift, Enter. Let's see, it should only be 2 files. HTTP no, HTTP no. Yes, yes, no. Like this. All right, save all. Okay, copy paste, program like this, close the others, find the O like this. There we go. All right, so we don't need like any of that stuff. It's just going to be make of z of unit like this. And let's see. All right, so find the old and remove all of the old stuff. And this probably is probably it. Yeah, that's it. Now let's go and do the main over here and over here. This is going to be main old, shift enter. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. Save all, and the main is going to look exactly the same for all of them. So we can actually go to the core and we can steal it. I'm sorry, not to the core, to the regular main, right? To this one. Copy here, click on this one, paste, and there we go. It compiles right away, and we can actually go and run it over here, right? So we're going to go to main PostgresSkunk, and we're going to run it. The new one, please. Let's do show all. Yeah, ta-da, it works. And, you know, search by ID, some stuff. It's not a UID. Search by ID, some proper ID, which is this guy. Ta-da, it found it. Okay, quit. There we go. Let's go back to root. Let's do T, and let's not forget to commit this whole thing. Close this one as well. And let's go and commit it. So it's called main PostgresSkunk, like this. All right, so now the only thing that is left to do is the delivery layer for HTTP. So let's get right to it. Now, let me actually open this controller HTTP. So it's going to be this one, okay? Because this is like probably the most complicated part, not because of the rewrite, but like in general, you know, like this is like the one that uses like the heaviest library, you know, HTTP4s was a weird DSL and stuff. So over here, like every time we're returning a response, it's going to be a response of f, right? And this f, because it's Tagless Final, it always comes from some scope over here, right? So over here, right? But because in our case, we actually have z hard-coded somewhere at the very, very top, we can actually introduce yet another alias for the response of z. We're going to call it ZResponse. Okay, so we're actually going to go and create it probably over here, right? So we're just going to call it ZResponse.scala. All right, and we're going to import zio. Well, actually, we don't even need to import zio. We actually need to import org.http4s response, right? Because this is just going to be a type alias called ZResponse, which is going to be a response of z. All right, so we have this controller over here, which is just an object, and it extends this controller over there, right? This is just a teeny tiny thread over here. So this is the one that we're gonna start working on. Okay, so this is gonna be controller old, and there's no way in hell that Metal is gonna manage this properly. All right, HTTP yes, yes, yes. Oh man, actually all of them are correct. All right. All right, save, save, save. There we go, save all like this, and copy paste, and this is going to be just the controller, and close all the others, find the O, remove it like this. All right, so this is going to be just a controller that isn't going to have that, and it's going to have HTTP response of Z. All right, so now we can actually grab the proper controller, which is this one. Let's close the other one. Okay, so let's go over here. Controller old Metals, I still don't trust you. When we change the implementation, like this is when Metals gets a little bit confused. Okay, so there's still HTTP4s stuff there, so it's correct delivery, but there's no HTTP4s there, so we're gonna remove this one. Controller suite, nope. Dependency graph for HTTP4s, yes. Dependency graph for HTTP4s, yes. Why is there twice? Oh yeah, one is for skunk and one without the skunk. This is correct. This one, no. This one not. There we go. Shift enter. There we go. And go here and save all. And like this. And why didn't it rename the file? Come on, controller old. There we go. Copy paste controller like this, and close the other one and find the O and do this like this. Okay, so this rewrite is actually not going to be that complicated. Even though the controller is the most complicated part of the entire application, the actual rewrite is going to be super simple. Okay, so we're going to import the zio. We're going to remove this guy, and it's going to require the old. Okay, it's not going to require anything that is old, right? So it's going to be like this. Okay, so it's going to be a boundary of, let's remove this one, go over here to do ID zio environment and throwable like this. It's not gonna need any of the complicated type classes over here. So this is going to be a UIO. This is going to be nothing, right? So it's just going to be like this. Okay, so this is going to be zio.succeed. And this is going to be a new controller that doesn't have anything. And over here, like this is a very common Tagless Final pattern for HTTP4s. However, because we're hard coding to Z, we actually wouldn't need this. We could create this HTTP4s DSL once and, you know, export it, for example, and use it all over the place. However, I don't want to change that much, so we're simply going to go over here and do this. It's going to work out exactly the same. Okay, so pretty much everywhere else where we have the F like this, let me actually see. Yeah, there. Like all of these Fs, yeah, all of them are going to be changed to Z. Okay, let's go down a little bit. Okay, so response of Z, and we already have that, we already have an alias, it's going to be simply ZResponse. Okay, and now everywhere we say F of ZResponse, everywhere we're going to change it to Z of ZResponse, right? As a reminder, I know it's a bunch of Z's, right? Our Z is the alias, right? Our Z, come on. There's a file called z.scala, right? So this is our alias, Z. It's a real of zio environment. Real means it fails with a throwable. It produces an A, and ZResponse is simply a response of Z. Okay, so we have a Z of response of Z. Honestly, in this entire file, this actually might already be it. Since I came prepared, I actually know that somewhere at the bottom over here, I forgot, the global search and replace did not find this one, and it did not find this one. But at this point, I believe this is actually already everything that we need. All right, so the only things that we can improve here is this stuff, right? So like all of this stuff is already hard-coded, right? So we can just remove this and like this, right? So give it an entity decoder for our Z. And the same thing over here, right? So we can pretty much delete this whole part again like this, right? And I actually believe that we have a to-do for the response, over there. And we're not going to create a to-do old. So we're going to keep this one. And therefore, like, this is the only place that is going to be left until the very end that is still going to require the app. It's actually a very interesting spot because it just requires the app because somewhere at the very, very bottom, it uses the fs2 streams, which require the effect type. But it's not constrained at all. It doesn't have like any context bounds over here, which is, it kind of looks weird, but it is necessary. In fact, I believe in the controller, my script tells me that we actually don't require cats anymore. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, we don't. All right, let me actually show you one thing. There's one spot over here where we're using parTupled, okay? We need to have a tiny conversation about this real quick. So this is a spot that does parallel error handling. This is the only spot in the entire application. Maybe we can actually run it, like, because we progressed with our rewrite in this very, very organized fashion. We can actually run, for example, on this one, right? It doesn't have like the new version of the main, right? So we're still running like with cats effect and stuff, right? So if you open client HTTP over here, right? So if you run an update for all of the fields with the parallel error handling, right? So over here, like, this is not a UUID and this is not a valid deadline because there's the letter H over here, right? So if we send this request, we're actually going to see both errors, right? So we see them over here, right? So invalid UUID, and this one does not match the required format. Let's kill the server and let's go back to root and do this. Okay, so we're in the controller, and over here we have parTupled. parTupled. There we go. All right, so over here we have a toID which produces an either, right? So it doesn't produce a zio of an either, right? Zio is not a utility library. Zio is a, it's an effect library with concurrency and all of that stuff, right? So all of the helpers that it has are defined on Zio. For instance, Zio has this thing called zipPar that we encountered a couple of videos ago, right? However, even if we were to wrap this whole thing into Zio just so that we could call zipPar, it still has fail-fast semantics of a monad. And so if you were to RTFM, you would see that it tells you to first use some other helper methods to move your throwable from the error channel into the success channel. This will convert your success channel to an either the same way as it is happening over here, right? So this particular pattern is actually a little bit harder in Zio just because you need to wrap everything into Zio and because it fails fast. And therefore, there's nothing wrong with leaving, the regular cats, not the cats effect, you don't need cats effect, but leaving like the regular cats on the class path over here and still use it for its utilities. All right, so there are only a couple of things left. So we're gonna do, close this one. All right, so we're still not done with this one. Yeah, so we have the HTTP app over here and we have the server. Okay, so HTTP app, let's go and do HTTP-app old like this and save all of them and copy paste. And this is going to be HTTP app like this and close all the others and delete 2 colon like this. We can pretty much go over here, change this one to Zio, go over here. So we probably, we don't need this entire thing. We need to find old, remove all of the old stuff like this. So this is going to be a controller that it's not going to have this, it's not going to have that, and it's going to be an HTTP app for Z, and the rest should stay the same, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, that's the whole thing. The last one that is left is the server, right? Server, and it's going to be server old like this, and we're going to save all of them, and we're going to do a copy paste over here. It's going to be just a server, and we're going to close all the others, and we're going to find the old, and we're going to remove it from here and from here like this. There we go. All right, so we're going to go over here, and we're going to change it to zio, and therefore we're going to move it down like this. All right, so this is going to be a server for some R and some E, and therefore over here it's going to have the zio of RE unit like this, and over here it's going to have a def make like this. And by the way, this is an interesting part. It's actually not going to require the execution context. So it requires the execution context so that it can pass it to the Blaze server builder. However, because we're dealing with a zio environment, we can actually take it out from the zio environment. So we don't need to pass it around. So we're just going to have this thing. Okay, so we're going to find the F, replace it with a Z. We don't need this entire parameter list. We're going to find the old, going to go like this, Z, find the F, and we're going to switch it to UIO. We're going to go over here and we're going to change it to zio.succeed. There we go. And our F is going to be Z. Okay, so now we just need to grab this execution context. We need to rip it out from the zio runtime. We could use it for comprehension, but we're not going to because it's simply a one flat map. Okay, so this is going to be the runtime, arrow to the right, remove this guy, put him over here, right? So let's do this and move it to the right. Okay, so the execution context is going to be simply runtime.platform.executor.as.ec, right? EC is the, is the execution context. Okay, this is the whole thing. Okay, not enough type parameters. Yeah, so this is going to be the server of a zio environment and throwable. All right, just a typo over there. Okay, XP. All right, so we're actually done with the delivery layer. So let's commit it. So it's going to be delivery http4s like this, and now we can go and fix the main layer. Actually, we were left with two main layers that we need to fix, right? So this first one that uses HTTP and Postgres, and the other one that uses HTTP and nothing else. Let's first do the one that does not require Postgres. So we're gonna go over here, over here, over here. We're almost done, guys. Hold on. Dependency graph old, shift enter. And let's see. Okay, HTTPS, HTTPS, HTTP. No. And no. Right? Regular one. Yeah, it's going to be like this, I believe. And we're going to do save all. And we're going to copy paste dependency graph like this, and close the others, and we're gonna go over here like this, save it. All right, so this is gonna be zio. We're not gonna require this guy. We're gonna find this guy, not need this one. Pattern, find the F over here. This is gonna be the UIO. Find the O. We're gonna replace all of them like this, and we're not gonna require the F like this. All right, so we need to find this guy, not this one. Okay, let's delete these ones, find the Y, paste, and find this one, not this one, this one, this one, delete these guys, change this one to make, and this might be it. All right, so let's go and change the program. Okay, so it's going to be program old, shift enter. All right, let's see. So it should only be two files, right? Not this one. Yes, this one. Yes, this one. Not this one, and not this one, I believe. Yeah, there we go. We should change this main. Did it change this main? Why is it not yellow? Program alt, save. There we go. It is yellow. All right. VS Code is playing jokes on me. All right. Copy paste and because it didn't save. Yeah, that's why. All right. Close the other one. Delete the column like this. All right, so for this one, we're actually not going to require any imports like this, and this entire thing is going to be a lazy val make z of unit like this. So we're not going to require this guy. Find this one, all the old stuff is going to be removed, and we don't need to pass in the execution context. And then we can grab the main from like the regular main, for example, like this, and main. Well, we need to rename it to old real quick first. Main old. There we go, and we're gonna save it, and we're gonna paste it. There we go. This is the new main. Okay, so this is the main that runs HTTP without Postgres. Okay, so let's run it real quick. Cd main HTTP http4s, and let's run it like this. In fact, I don't want to forget to commit this, so let's commit this as main http4s like this. All right, let's go over here. So we want to run the new one. Okay, and so we're going to go to client.http, and we're going to do show all real quick like this. Okay, as you can see, this is like almost like the half of the one that uses the database as well. But if we click again, 20, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's create a couple and let's show all. Ta-da, everything works. All right, let's shoot it in the head and go back and do the last main. All right, so let's close all. Let's do this. And this is like sort of like the biggest one, right? The biggest dependency graph over here. I'm going to change it to dependency graph, Alt, Shift, Enter. All right, main HTTP, yes. Main HTTP, yes. Main HTTP, no. 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 Only these two. All right, and save all of them. And let's go over here and copy paste. And this is going to be just a dependency graph, and close the other ones and find the O, delete the column like this. Okay, so for the last time, that's going to be Zio. This is going to be, we're not going to need this whole thing. All right, so this is going to be a resource of our managed of Zio environment skunk dot session Z like this. All right, and therefore we're gonna remove this guy. Okay, so find the O, everything that is old is going to be new now like this. So this is going to be a controller, and this is going to be a UIO like this, and this might actually be enough. All right, so let's go and do program Alt, Shift, Enter. Okay, main, yes, this one, yes, this one, yes. All the others should be no. Let's see if I did it correctly. All right. There we go. Save all. All right. And copy paste. This is going to be just program. Close the others and delete the column like this. All right, so we're not going to need these. We're just simply going to say import zio star like this. Over here, there's simply going to be lazy val make UIO. Well, actually, it's a zio of unit. So we're going to remove this whole thing, and everywhere where we say old, we're going to remove that. And over here, we don't need to pass it like this. So there we go. This is the program. And this is now the main over here, main alt, shift enter, yes, shift enter, it's good. And so now we can grab one of the main methods from here, for example, main alt, there we go. I forgot to save the file, main alt. Okay, so we have like this last main. Okay, so this is the one that actually uses the database as well. Okay, so cd main http postgres rs, and let's run the new one. Let's go to our client.http, and we're gonna do show all, and I believe we have two of them, right? Or did we add another one? Yeah, two. Okay, so same, like relatively the same thing as with http4s. So show I mean was a cats effect and stuff. So yeah, it's all good. And we still have the parallel error handling, which is over here, right? There we go. 2 errors like this. All right, let's close all like this. Let's go over here. Let's kill this one. Let's also, just in case, do a clean, go back to testing, and let's also not forget to commit this whole thing. So this is going to be Postgres and skunk like this. All right, so this is pretty much the end of the rewrite. So now we can throw out all of the old stuff. Okay, for this we can use a little bit of a bash magic. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find everything, and we're gonna find the names, everything that ends with old.scala, and we're gonna pipe this into xargs of rm. Right, so now a bunch of stuff got deleted, like everything that was old got deleted. So we can do gcam remove old, right? Everything still compiles, right? well, it took a while to throw out all the old stuff, but everything still compiles. Okay, so now pretty much like the only place that has this F, the last leftover of the whole tagless file is somewhere in the response to do, which is it this one? Hold on, something's wrong. Yeah. So right before I started recording this thing, I accidentally, I moved the to-do into CRUD. And so I'm accidentally left with this one. So I'm going to delete it as well. We don't need it. Okay. So, right. So this is the only thing that is left. Okay. We can simply remove this whole thing and just hard code it to Z. It's not super required, but okay. So this is going to be gcam remove Z last F. Okay, like this. Okay, and so now we can actually clean up the build. We can go to the build file. We can go over here and we can go down and let's see. Essentially, we want to remove cats effect and all of the other effects. Okay, so here, for example, cats effect, right? So like this one. Over here, cats effect. We don't need it. Over here, persistence, right? We don't need it. Over here, cats effect. Yeah, like all of these lines. We can delete all of them, and at the bottom we have like these effects, so we can remove them as well. Let's save this. Let's not import the build yet, not now. Let's also go to the dependencies file where we use the cats effect. Oops, cats effect. Okay, so we can pretty much like throw these guys out, and we also have Monix somewhere over here. We weren't using it because it's not published anyway. Maybe I even threw it out. No, I didn't. Okay, so these guys, yeah, we can throw them out as well. Okay, so now let's allow SBT to finish. All right, let's import the build, and while it does that, let's actually go and commit it. We're gonna say that we removed Monix and cats effect from the build. All right, so now pretty much there are no traces left of this whole thing. So let's, of the whole tagless final thing. So let's actually go and check it out. As you can see, I have recorded all of these last 4 or 5 or 6 videos today. I started, well, not 6 hours ago. I started 2 hours ago. Well, more like 4 hours ago, actually. Yeah, so you can go through this whole thing. Probably the most interesting part is to calculate the diff between here and over here, right? This is the most interesting part. In fact, let's actually go and try it real quick. All right, so we're gonna do glol, and so we need to calculate the diff between 5.8f and the current head. Well, I'm not actually going to use the head. I'm going to use the thing over here, right? So I'm going to do git diff. So 5.8ff and AAA. This one, okay? So this diff is the most important one. If you go through this whole thing like this, you're going to see how little has actually changed, like how relatively mechanical and a rewrite like this really is, okay? Like as you can see, just like the type signatures changed most of the time, a couple of imports changed. Not such a big deal. All right, now this is the last video in the Zio series, and as a reminder, this is not an idiomatic Zio app. However, at the same time, there's really nothing wrong with it. It's just that if you wanted to learn Zio further, you could take it and remove these unnecessary R and E parameters, introduce layers, maybe even introduce effect tracking, and so on. Also, Zio has a couple of web frameworks on its own. I believe there is Zio Web that I believe recently was renamed to Zio Microservice, and there's also Zio HTTP, and I believe there's also some SQL thingy, but I haven't played with any of them yet, so I'm not going to have any videos about them, at least inside of the series. I might have separate videos later. I haven't decided yet. As I already mentioned, I haven't really played with them yet. Cool. I always feel kind of euphoric when I'm done recording series like this. It takes like 3 months to prepare and record and edit and all of that stuff. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like it if you actually did like it. Subscribe if you want to improve the developer inside you. And if you learned something today, consider support me on GitHub sponsors or Patreon, whatever you prefer. And also watch my videos weeks and sometimes even months before everyone else. And most importantly, take care.